Welcome to the As Vice podcast. I am one of your two hosts here, Vice Wolfpack, and we have...
I interrupted you. I'm sorry. I've already screwed
It's alright, that's queuing you up.
I was told this was a professional show.
Who told you that?
Yeah, who did you hear that from? Went down the show in like 2 months.
Come on. And I am Azriel.
And today, ladies and gentlemen, we are blessed with the presence of a very special guest who's going to help us with this podcast episode.
Have we got another guest coming?
They couldn't make it. So, unfortunately, no, we have our wonderful friend Lewis Smith here, who was also known as Smiz. How are you doing?
Not too bad. How's yourselves?
Yeah, we're all right. I think that was probably the best opening we've ever done.
Yeah, perfect.
It was solid.
Spot on.
No rehearsal needed.
Spot on.
As per usual. So today we are doing something a little bit different. We have our own virtual wrestling promotion called Action All-Star Wrestling, as we all love wrestling so much. It's our own created universe that we use and write storylines and make characters, and we premiere that all on Twitch, which you can find most Wednesdays at 8 p.m. UK time. So obviously our love and fascination from wrestling created this. Is how we all kind of bonded and became friends. We played a lot of the wrestling games together. So today's podcast episode will be about you. So
Really looking for a curveball there.
Fortnite. It's a Fortnite.
I'm good either way.
Yeah. So before we get, obviously one of the co-founders of AEW with us today, which is Smiz, which we're obviously very excited to have you on the show, so thank you so much for being here. And we're just going to talk a little bit about wrestling, our kind of wrestling history, and then we'll sort of delve into modern wrestling, our favourite things, and then talk a little bit more about AEW as a sort of, as a collective. So I think the first question is the classic, but what got you into wrestling?
If Lewis wants to take over here.
The guest take the reins. Okay, so
I always
The
let
Roman
the guest
Reigns.
take the reins.
Take
That's
the
what
Roman
I do.
Reigns.
I'm a nice guy.
so Luther Reigns.
Oh God!
The only other Reigns I know of.
Reigns.
Not even watching it at that time. So it would have been a Sunday afternoon.
Oh, I feel like he's
quiet
making the story.
Sunday afternoon.
I'm already
just
in.
after ground.
Sunday
Miss.
afternoon in maybe 98, 99. I'm in my room, probably Megazord's out.
This could be like last week, mate.
Yeah. It's tomorrow. So I'm minding my own business, and my dad comes upstairs and goes, "Oh, wrestling's on. Do you want to watch it?" And I've not seen wrestling before in my life. I'm like, "Okay," come downstairs and had a look, see what it is, And from that moment, that was it. And it was an episode of Heat, so you can already tell the caliber of. I don't remember.
So you didn't like good wrestling?
No, I can't remember the matches that were on Heat, but it was they showed like a clip from Raw, what had happened.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I don't remember the exact details on match, but the way in my head, it was Rock, Undertaker and Kane in the ring. Triple H stood on the ramp and he was just sending waves of jobbers to beat them up. So it'd be like, Kai and Ty and Hardcore Holly!
Kai and Ty with jobbers? Hold on. I don't
level.
believe this for a second. You're lying to me.
And then they'd send down someone else and you'd be like, okay. And they make short work of him. And then he sent the New Age Outlaws and it's like, okay, now they're starting to... And then he joined in and was just beating them down for a bit. I've never been able to find that match or footage since.
Did you just make this up?
It's how I remember it.
I mean, you said like you didn't remember a lot of it, but that was really descriptive.
It's
Like, I don't think mine's that descriptive. I can't remember that much
it just
in detail.
made
That's great.
It just made that much of an impression.
Yeah.
That since then, well, after that week, it would be trying to catch it every week.
Yeah.
And then when we got Sky, it would be watching SmackDown on.
Sky, how we ever half live, eh?
Oh, hang on,
Jesus
hang on,
Christ.
hang on. Sky. When we got Sky, we watched SmackDown and Raw.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd stay up late when it was broadcast on Fridays.
Yeah.
Then, after a couple of years, we went to that phase where we didn't have Sky, but we still had some Sky. And I don't know the logistics of how that's possible.
On digital.
No.
That was it.
I think there was like, they've changed it into like a package deal,
Sky
didn't
One
they?
on
And you
digital.
had like Sky, and they showed it on Sky One rather than Sky Sports, didn't they? 'Cause that's how I used to watch it.
Maybe that, maybe dodgy card from down the pub.
Yeah.
We don't know.
We don't judge
I can't-
here, okay?
Dodgy card from down the
As not to implicate my dad in anything.
Yeah.
And
What was
then,
your second name again?
I don't know. Can we just go back and edit that name out?
Yeah.
Pixelate my face, please. So this was maybe around 2005 now. We didn't have it Sky for that long.
Yeah.
And then it'd be like a school holiday. I browsing the channels, the wrestling channel. It's like channel 427.
420.
No, close. And they'd show TNA.
Oh,
And that's how I got back into it. And then through friends of school, then through college, just kept going.
Nice.
Less so TNA, more WWE.
Yeah.
And sort of comes and goes in waves, really.
Yeah. No, that's cool. I mean, again, that's like really descriptive. I think for me, all I know vaguely, also my dad is a huge wrestling fan. He used to watch like WCW like a lot. And I think it just kind of came from there. And that was one thing that me, my dad, and my two older brothers kind of really all bonded on. But I think the thing that really solidified it was probably playing the PlayStation 1 SmackDown game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think just doing that, like playing that with my brothers.
SmackDown on the screen.
Yeah, that was probably the first thing. Because I remember like you do like career mode and you do it 2-player, which was really cool. And then, it just all kind of came from there. I used to play like No Mercy and WrestleMania 2000 on the Nintendo 64 like all the time. And then I kind of fell in love with more of the creation side of it. We used to watch, so we used to watch like catch up on stuff on like Sky One because we didn't have like Sky Sports at the time. Yeah. And then I'd watch like little bits everywhere and there. And I think where I really got into it was like the 2002 to 03 era. And, like Lesnar was like came in and he had like Angle and Guerrero and like Jericho and all that kind of stuff. Where that was like at sort of prime. The biggest thing, was probably my dad. He bought this massive like black book, which is like the history of like wrestling. I used to just look for it like all the time. I just remember being like mesmerized by like Lex Luger because I just thought like, how can anyone have that physique?
Then you met me.
Yeah, and then I met you, and life just changed. So
you'd met
Lex Luger's son.
Yeah,
you'd met both ends of the scale at that point. Like
and I think I stuck with it because I just liked the physicality of it, and I also liked the kind of drama. But again, it was the games that kind of stuck me with it because I loved like waiting for the games, making people and doing my own thing with it. I think that's kind of what stuck me with playing them really, and carrying on with it, sort of as it kind of went on. But what about you, Azrael?
Well, mine starts a long time ago when I was just a small boy. No, I used to go to Leicester where my uncle was, and he had like, like you could have the VHSs like 3 hours long.
Yeah.
Put them on long play, and then they're 6 hours long, both sides or whatever it is. I don't know. It was weird. It was like 12 hours of wrestling just on three different VHSs.
I was going to say both sides of the VHS.
I don't remember how VHSs work.
Most people aren't aware of them anymore.
And they just had like 4 or 5 of those, so it was like 60 hours worth of content that just of WCW, old WCW episodes. So I just kept watching those.
Nice.
And then it is my mum likes wrestling, and then we just started getting into like The Rock and stuff like that. And then from there, it's just you have a time where I didn't watch wrestling for like 10 years, I reckon, or something like that. It was a long time. And then I started buying the games again.
Yeah.
And then it gets you into it again. You stay with it.
I think it's surprising how much the games have actually had an effect in terms of a fan base. I know that like a lot of people went away from wrestling when it kind of hit sort of like the sort of like 06 to 08 era when that kind of came through and where it became very PG, didn't it?
WWE.
Yeah. And I think it did turn a lot of people away and a lot of people off the product. But I just remember like, even if I wasn't watching it, I would still buy the games and still play them. And I'd be like, who the hell is Sheamus?
I literally just played the games.
Who's R-Truth? And I didn't have a clue, but I just did it because I just wanted to.
Quick, mate. Don't act like you don't know who R-Truth is.
He's been there years.
Well, I didn't until like I started then watching like TNA.
Quick getting rowdy.
Yeah, because TNA was on like
things.
TNA was on Challenge, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And then I used to watch it on there, and I think that kind of got me back in when I was obsessed with like AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, Christopher Daniels, Sting.
My mum loves Sting.
Yeah, and then Angle obviously was there as well, and I'm huge fan of Angle.
Can you dig it, sucker?
Yeah, Main Event Mafia. Do you remember that?
That was just a weird time.
That was a weird time.
We were all the belts.
Yeah, just like 5 old wrestlers just going around dominating. But it was a good time. It was a really good time. But like, so I kind of fell off of it a little bit, and then I think meeting you guys kind of got back into it. We obviously went to a few like live events, been to a few Rev Pros. Obviously, we did some training ourselves and stuff, and in recent memory, it's kind of dwindled a lot in terms of interest. But again, it's the only thing that's kind of come back is gaming for me. So do you still keep updated with the current product?
I try to. It used to be I would every morning or every Tuesday I'd wake up, whilst I was in that stage of, I don't need to get up yet for work, but I'm awake, I'd look at the results from Raw and go, well, that was rubbish. That was rubbish.
Yeah.
That was rubbish. And the same with pay-per-views.
Yeah.
I do that. I very rarely do I actually... I've not sat down and watched a pay-per-view or a show for years at this point.
I can't even remember the last one I think I watched. It probably was with you guys, to be honest.
I think it was that.
Maybe like a Rumble or something?
I don't really watch a lot of WWE. Not because it's boring, I just don't watch it. I don't have the time.
Yeah.
But like, I know more about like local wrestling than I do like the big companies. So
I think it's you reach sort of a stage as you grow up. When you first see it and you're a young kid, you can't believe it. This is like the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
Then as you get older, you're like, this is a bit naff. I know it's staged. I know things like that. And then you reach a certain age where you're like, I know these facts, but I don't care. I'm just going to enjoy it for the story.
Yeah.
And that's where when we've gone to watch it live.
Yeah.
Like when we went to, I'm trying to think, Street. There was a show in a sports hall. I think was the best way to sum it up.
Oh, it was good fun though.
Oh, it's good. That was it.
Those are my favourite shows.
That was it.
Yeah.
It was really good fun, and we
Yeah.
got into it. So there's like the heels in the ring, and he's sort of like chucking insults at the crowd, and we're like, "Yay, he's doing it!"
Yeah.
We were probably a bit drunk. Now that
Yeah,
In a
that's
sports hall? How dare you?
in a disclaimer, yeah.
yeah, but that's it. You kind of revert back to that childlike mentality of watching these larger than life characters and getting involved. It's like a soap opera.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things as well. I think for me it's two things. Like nothing beats the live viewing of it, and I think it's so special and it's so different and unique, and like you feel the hits, like you get invested in the story. Like remember when we watched, I think Cody Rhodes fought like the UPW champion or something, or like I think it was against like Dick Riley or something like that, and it was just like it was so intense, and like even though we probably thought, well, I ain't gonna win the UPW champion.
It was like the point. It was like, this is amazing. Yeah.
But we were just like so invested that like every near fall we was like so captivated by the actual like show itself. It was like, oh, this is so intense.
And I think after that, all of us tried to get a photo with him.
Yeah.
Like I think we all actually did it. And there's like to be the security or CCTV in that place, because there's like your 7-year-olds and your 8-year-olds rushing for a photo, and then there's like mid-20s. There was people older.
Come here.
There was people older than us.
Too sweet me.
Too sweet, me. Too sweet, yeah.
But yeah,
Where's Brandy?
Yeah.
it's especially going to watch live shows. It's the mix of the crowd who are all here to joined by one thing.
Yeah, there's a big unity, isn't there, with it? It's almost like it's very similar to like music, isn't it? Like you go and watch like a rock show or something, and everyone's there for the same reason, and you're having a great time and stuff. Do you think like the modern age of like us knowing more about like the backstage stuff has killed the like excitement about it?
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
I'd say
100%. Especially like from terms of my way, whenever I'm watching like wrestling now, I'm just thinking like, I know he does it.
Yeah.
Well, where's he going with this storyline? What are you doing now? Like, I just judge it too much and I question everything that happens. So.
Yeah.
I think the internet's taken a bit of magic away from it, even because you can. If you know it's staged and you know the winners are predetermined and everything like that, the action they're still doing in the ring...
You can still be taken away by the magic, can't you?
Yeah. I'm sorry to sound like a bloody old WWF PSA, but they're putting their bodies on their line. That's it. You
slobber knocker!
It's the...
Got Jim Ross in it, you know?
Yeah. Oh, by God. Don't know who that was.
That was not good.
By God.
That was not good.
JR has left the building.
He never turned up. He was a special guest.
He was.
You can appreciate the athleticism and the power it takes.
Yeah.
But then you go on the internet and you read, oh, this person was unhappy with the match result, so they complained, and this person's genuinely injured, and and it kind of just goes, well, I know that. I've got less interest to get invested in the storyline, which...
Yeah.
It's like if Undertaker was around now trying to make that character, would it work?
It wouldn't work.
Just would it work? Like it would be a lot harder.
Well, I mean, Bray Wyatt did a pretty good job at trying to be like mystical and kind of like powerful, didn't he?
Yeah.
But I think the
fired.
booking of WWE kind of hindered that. Like they never gave him the opportunity he deserved.
Yeah.
You know, because he just dropped the title straight away to Goldberg, didn't he?
I suppose also back when characters like The Undertaker were first announced and sort of like they built up as this like supernatural presence.
Yeah.
Like if they tried that now, they could do it on TV, but then you'd have someone on Twitter posting, "I've just seen the Undertaker and McDonald's eating a Big Mac."
I think that's the thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like I think for me, like one of the biggest things like is Alexa Bliss, who was trying to be like the kooky, crazy character, but yet then like you'd read reports that she'd be like posting like her hanging out with her husband just like normally and like all over her Twitter and her Instagram, and it kind of like the whole kayfabe thing is so like there is no line, is there? But you get some people who do a really good job. Like I know recently, like people have been really praising Zack Ryder because he's like, well, Matt Cardona, that he's he's really leaning into the fact that like no one likes him or whatever. He's this like nerd, but he's a jacked up guy and stuff, and he just pisses people off. Like GCW, he's huge at the moment. He's like big heel because he's not your typical GCW guy. So, and that gets him over. So he does it really well. When then there's some people who just, they can't help but share their personal lives too much. It kind of loses the magic a little bit.
Which is fine. We're not saying don't do that.
It's
your life.
Yeah. We're just talking our opinions.
Just, really. I think how it is, isn't it?
They're less thought of as like the character. They're now they've always been playing that character.
Yeah.
But it's like you see, let's say a sort of paparazzi thing of Chris Evans. You don't think, well, he's Captain America. What's he doing? There's like you know he plays him and other roles, but that's not who he is. Where I think that's now where. Yeah,
but then it's also hard, isn't it? Because like say someone like a Bray Wyatt, it'd be hard for him to flick between different, like if he was like Bray Wyatt one week and then the Fiend the next week and stuff, and like it's like why the Demon doesn't work for me, like Finn Balor. Like it doesn't work in my personal opinion because it's like
we're gonna hate an upcoming.
I'm never a big fan. I don't get it.
I like
get it.
It doesn't like
work.
because if you think right, no one can beat the Demon. He's going to win every time. Why wouldn't you just be the Demon all the time?
Yeah,
it just contradicts itself.
Lot of pain.
Yeah. Obviously, it's a lot of pain, but like, do you know what I mean? Like, that doesn't make sense to me. Like, if your objective is to win every single time, why the hell wouldn't you just be the best person you would be?
We'll get into this when we get into some of the other things.
It was like, we'll be talking about Finn Balor in a short while.
There is a question that says most overrated wrestler of all time. Maybe
there is I feel a bit set up and attacked here. But it's the idea of what that character was on, say, the Indies. Compared to the WWE larger-than-life version.
Yeah, totally.
So I believe on the Indies it was almost like an intimidation tactic and a motivation. Like, okay, I've got a big match coming up. I need to be in the right frame of mind. I need to psych myself up. I'm going to dress like Venom.
Yeah.
There's some sort of thing. Whereas when he came to mainline WWE, because it wasn't the same when he was in NXT, mainline WWE is like, no, now he's a different character. Now he's a spooky demon. He's supernatural. He's powerful. Oh no, the rope shook. He lost.
Well, I guess that's why, like, you know, if you're in the indie scene, you do it more because you're selling yourself. You've got your whole
gimmick, isn't
your
it?
whole career and your whole life is on everything. So you need to sell yourself.
You've got a bit more control over what you can do
because you want people to see it. You want people to like it. You want people to buy your stuff. You know, they need to do it.
It's got to be consistency.
When they go to WWE, they have obviously the guidelines. They know what they're.
And someone's writing the character for you, essentially, isn't it? You see a lot of that, don't you?
Like, I know that obviously some will have, you know, control over their character, but if they don't like something at the end of the day, they're going to change it. So
there's, I mean, and to give WWE a bit of credit, they've got like their sponsors, they've got certain rules, they've got things they need to comply with. So they go, well, what you did on the Indies, that's made you big, and that's why we hired you. Because you
can't do it anymore.
But we're going to need you to tone that down a bit or change how you do things. And I think some wrestlers that works better for, and they manage to adapt, and others it kind of takes away what.
Yeah,
it's like with Dean Ambrose. I always thought he was always a weird one to have because he's like the.
He's like so against like what you would look at.
You look at him and you go, I could see him doing something crazy, and he's like, pours Jello on Seth Rollins. It's like, thought it might be a little bit different than that, but I guess. And so it's just like he's got this hardcore image, and then he's just like,
And then you look at him in AEW, he's got like the creative freedom. He's thriving.
Destructive. Like you wouldn't want to mess with him.
It's a really, again, it's towing the line between what works for the character and obviously what works for the company image, isn't it? I think that's the hardest thing that you can find with it. I mean, I like WWE. I'm not like slamming it or anything. I always, you got me into wrestling, and I respect it. But again, it's also there's a lot of things that are bad.
I respect the commercialism and the marketing and
there's
rules that they have to go for and stuff. You know.
And I know WWE's business thing isn't just to cater to one specific mindset of person. It's not to go, right, what's that Agent Smiz like? Let's do
Or Finn Balor. Okay.
Yeah.
Some guy really seems to love Finn Balor, but that's it. They've got to cater to a mass amount of audiences. So it's not always going to be something that I like or something that everyone likes, and that's, I think, as you grow older, your tastes change.
Yeah, totally.
Like back when I first started watching, it was the larger in life characters, and then it's like, well, that's a bit silly now.
Yeah.
And now I've looped back to going, actually, what I like is to an extent, the hokey sort of stuff.
Yeah, totally.
But there's a time, like, getting the balance between it.
Yeah, I think they do struggle with that. Like, again, I think we can go back and talk about The Fiend so much because you feel like it was such a wasted opportunity because it's such a phenomenal, like, character, isn't it? And, like, I love the characters. Like, they're my favourite kind of people that I sort of always enjoy more in wrestling, like you said.
Well, with The Fiend as well, like, they used the coronavirus stuff well because they had to, like, video stuff.
Yeah.
And that worked perfectly for The Fiend because it was, you know, as a wrestling match, it was terrible, but as like a push for like
the cinematic match.
John Cena versus The Fiend was not a good wrestling match, but it was an incredible
it was wild
show to like
in
see
terms of
how
like a storyline.
how powerful a character is.
Again,
and
worked for
stuff.
Taker and the AJ Styles match. Like I actually really enjoyed that. I thought that was quite good.
Yeah, it was weird.
The cinematic match. It wasn't. Yeah, you're not going to tune in and expecting like a 5-star classic. But I think if you're thinking that, you're just kidding yourself, really, aren't you? You've got to change your expectations. But anyway, we'll move on because we can probably talk about
slagging WWE off
for years. So we'll go on to like what is a traditional sort of big wrestling question, and it's like who is on your Mount Rushmore? So essentially, it's 4 wrestlers that you think define the business.
We'll
start with you,
well,
yeah, give me 5 because we're gonna have very different options here.
Now.
I mean, he's going to hate one person.
Balor, isn't he?
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
I will go into my reasons. Now, I'm not saying my list is the definitive Mount Rushmore. It is like the Mount Rushmore I would put in my garden. So you see,
Lidl's Mount Rushmore.
How dare you?
He loves Lewin, man. Don't back
in the middle of Lidl, it'll be in the sense that I like these wrestlers and I have my reasons for it.
Yeah, that's the point of it.
And it's what they represent to me and my wrestling journey. But it's not going to be the same for everyone else. And some of them it might be.
I will be very surprised if any of you have one putting in my Mount Rushmore.
He's gonna go completely
off. One person, isn't he?
Yeah.
So.
Crash Holly.
Yeah.
No, wait, no, I didn't say that. Damn, he's up there now. So
you've chosen your first one, then.
Oh god.
No, go on.
So first one, The Rock.
Yeah.
I think when I first started watching, to even now, as a person who's transcended the character of his wrestler to someone who I'll watch his films, I'll listen to his rap career, I'll play as him in Fortnite, that sort of thing. Someone who's managed to stay constant throughout that, and just, I'm sure Az might be able to attest to, just growing up, he was the coolest person on the planet.
Yeah, 100%.
We might have one similarity.
I feel like he's in everyone's, isn't he?
And I think the test to show how much he actually means to a lot of wrestling fans is when he was away from WWE for years and he came back as the special host for WrestleMania.
Oh, yeah.
And they sort of said, I'm introducing the special host, and the arena goes dark and then sort of lightning. And then that's it. You get goosebumps because everyone's like, could this? They couldn't.
They kept that really secret.
They did. They kept that so quiet. And then his theme hits, crowd erupts.
Yeah.
And if there's anything that I think is a good sign of how maybe over a wrestler is and what makes a really good moment, it's a crowd reaction.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
So yeah, that thing, and then just growing up, that's all. Anytime I played the games, it would always be The Rock first.
Yeah.
Like
totally.
SmackDown 2, which was my first wrestling game.
Oh yeah.
Where, like yourself, creation came out in first character. It was just The Rock in like a tank top and jeans, just called T-Bone, and that was. He's coming back and telling me. He did.
Of course he did.
Of course he did.
Why not?
Welcome to the mind of Smiz, everyone.
Oh, they get worse. Even at a young age, this was it. But yeah, just as a character.
Yeah.
As a character, brilliant. So
love it. Okay, so obviously, yeah, so The Rock is number one.
Yep.
Which makes perfect sense with Mount Rushmore as well.
Yeah. So that's the Mount Rushmore I will show the public.
Okay.
I go,
So,
look.
I feel like we're taking a huge spiral down now.
So not so much.
Who's number 2?
Kane.
No, I love Kane.
So-
I love huge fan of Kane.
So
My God,
As
it's got to be Kane.
yeah, it's got to be Kane. So as I say, growing up, favourite wrestler was The Rock.
Mm.
But the one who stuck with me the most, Kane.
Yeah.
Masked Kane. Not when he took his mask off.
He was still
Put that
would've
mask
messed
back
with
on.
them.
Put it back
Still
on.
would have messed with him then.
Oh, I wouldn't mess with him. But
Kane
in
was slow chemical. Fucking
Yeah.
badass.
the sort of 98 era Kane, so
Yeah.
sleeve missing,
Yeah.
that character and that sort of thing, just instantly fan. To this,
Voice box?
yeah.
What about Blue Cane? Did you like Blue Cane? Blue Cane?
Blue Cane?
Blue Cane? Blue Cane?
I didn't see Blue Cane. Oh, now you got me saying it. Damn it. I didn't see Blue Cane until years later, but that probably might have put a dampener on it.
Yeah, it wasn't
But
great,
just-
was it?
Just the idea of like, you've got sort of the badass of The Undertaker, and this is someone who's supposedly, maybe it didn't pan out that way, but supposedly someone The Undertaker fears.
Yeah.
It's like,
It was the only person who would compete against him, wasn't it?
feasibly,
Yeah.
there was, because Undertaker's so big, it's hard to find opponents who are imposing.
Yeah.
Like now you could have Undertaker versus sort of, say, argument's sake, a Daniel Bryan, and you know as an adult this will be a good match for
Yeah.
this reason. You look at it a kid and it's like, that big man's going to squash that little man.
Yeah.
He's just that. So to have someone on that level, just, I mean, and like I think on my desk somewhere I've got like a Kane figure, and it was the very first. The very first wrestling figure I was ever given, because I didn't buy it myself when I was 7. Like that sort of thing was Masked Kane, and I've got one I bought like a few years back, just like the style of the old like 80s Hasbro era ones. They redid some of those with modern stars.
Yeah.
So it's like a Kane one that just like you lift his arms up and he flings them back down. It just sits on my desk. That's it.
I love it.
Brilliant.
So Rock, Kane, number 3.
So representing a different stage of getting to him. I'm getting to him. No, AJ Styles.
Okay.
Yeah, that's cool.
So after we stopped getting Sky and I was unable to follow WWE as much as I want, and as I said, found the wrestling channel, things of TNA. I think one of the first shows or matches I watched did have AJ Styles in, and it was the flips, the athleticism, and it's just like, this is a character who stands out to me.
Yeah.
This is someone, I think he was a face at this point, so it was before like Aces and Eights and yeah.
That era of TNA.
There are going to be some deep cuts.
That era of TNA was was
not-
something to say the least.
But he was sort of like the plucky underdog. So he'd be, I think, one of the first things, one of the memories was, as you say, Lex Luger, when he came to TNA for a bit,
Oh, yeah.
and he put AJ in the torture rack. And I didn't know who Lex Luger was at that point, because I think this was around about just getting proper internet days. I make that sound so like
Proper internet days.
I'd fallen out of wrestling, so I didn't know.
Yeah. And we didn't have access like we do now, like
No.
where we can just read things on like dirt sheets or like tweets or whatever.
But so to see that, like your character, you're someone who you're invested in and want to see fight for the title and win the title, is now getting clobbered and beaten down. You're like involved, and you want to go, I want to watch this next week.
Yeah.
And that got me back into wrestling to an extent, because I remember talking to one of my friends at school about it. He said, I've got one of the old TNA pay-per-views on video. So borrowed that, watched that. I think it was like a lockdown or which is Fraser's taken on.
Fraser's a bit different now, isn't it?
Yeah.
They have COVID too.
Yeah. It's like a 2-year-long pay-per-view, and they just sat doing nothing.
Just get welled on.
Yeah. AJ Styles and
By a
Samoa Joe are 2
jobber.
meters apart. But it was that.
Insults.
It was It was that level of sort of getting back into it.
Yeah, definitely,
And then that led to sort of this friend going like, oh, do you want to come watch WrestleMania when we were at college? This was like the first year. So staying up late to watch it. And then that's how I got back into it to this extent.
Oh, nice.
So
AJ Styles number 3. So here we go, number 4. Can anyone guess
Drum
it?
roll, please.
now there's 4. There's 2 who could be in contention.
Okay.
One of them will be Finn Balor. But I am going to.
I think I know who he's going to go for.
Yeah, I think he might know.
No, I think.
He's getting mentioned elsewhere.
I think you're going to pick Daniel Bryan.
No.
Oh,
No.
okay. All right, fair.
It may seem cliched because I'm gonna come back to Finn Balor on one of the later questions.
Okay.
I like Finn Balor, the idea of it.
Finn Balor.
In terms of getting me, I was already still a fan of wrestling at this point because I was watching NXT when Finn Balor debuted.
Oh, okay. NXT era. I know who it is now.
Who?
Sami Zayn.
No.
Oh,
I do like a Sami Zayn.
I just want to get the answer.
I think it might begin with an S.
No.
Oh,
SB Lightning.
I'm out too late.
No, like says be lightning.
In terms of wanting to get, this is recent. In terms of wanting to get back into wrestling and following, CM Punk.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
Only
Does
because
it begin with an S?
C. Hang on. Just gotta do something. Notes. Nautical themed wrestler CM Punk.
Oh no. Yeah, CM Punk's a great shout.
So even back when he was first, like, because he's always been somewhat of a indie favourite and things, and it's when he first started doing the best in the world and the sort of I'm leaving, I'm coming back.
Yeah.
That reaction.
Can I just go back to a point? Internet made CM Punk better.
Oh, 100%.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, 100%, yeah.
So he actually helped. It got
When he came
Sorry,
back to Cult of Personality, and that, yes, it
The
was.
Spy, though, was a banger.
Oh, it's a good tune.
So good.
No denying that.
love Kill
But when
Switch.
he sort of came back, because that's a song that I knew from outside of wrestling, mostly through Guitar Hero and
Classic, yeah.
Grand Theft Auto, so listening to radios on that. But hearing that and going, he's back, and then, yeah, that storyline fizzled out a bit, and maybe had it gone differently. But then you flash forward like 7 years after that, and watching where he debuts on AEW,
Oh, yeah.
and that crowd going mental.
That was wild, wasn't it?
Like, that's one of the things that stick with you, like crowd reactions, like Edge returning at the Rumble in like 2007 or 2000.
That was mad.
The first time he was injured, like, before his retirement, and he came back, and the crowd just goes mental.
Similar
Anything
to like Cena when he came back, like really like
Yeah.
Madison Square Garden when he came in. And...
in its, I don't know whether it's like some sort of
yeah, you wait.
some level of like endorphins or that, but hearing that many people in an arena just hyped and pumped to see something,
Yeah.
that just sticks with you. And I think as a result, for like someone who knew that reaction is like, okay, maybe I'll get back into it, and I'll read up on AEW results.
Yeah.
Which I hadn't done before. I might have done like Cortman mentions and going, okay, this is happening, I don't care.
Yeah.
And now it's got me more involved in it.
Yeah. Well, I think that's kind of what AEW was trying to do, was to grab, more fans across people from who loved the CM Punk kind of era and
Sort of
him as a wrestler.
Disillusioned with how WWE's gone.
Yeah. It is the alternative brand. Like it
Which is good.
and especially now that NXT's gone. It is the kind of content that people want to see. It is that more wrestling. But I think they're really good picks. Actually, I think they're all really good picks.
Yeah.
I'm glad I changed.
Yeah.
Hey, don't worry, mate. I was just trying to build up to
I
my
know.
picks.
All right. Okay.
Go
So
on.
we'll go for my ones then.
Yeah.
So first one for me is Shawn Michaels. Now that was obviously a very obvious answer for a lot of wrestling fans, but Shawn Michaels was genuinely the person that got me into kind of being like trying to be charismatic, like larger than life. Like I remember watching his match against Hogan. Yeah. I remember watching his match against Hogan,
always sweet chin music
where
in me.
just every 2 minutes and trying to. Like watching his match against Hogan when he was just overselling, I just thought it was the funniest thing.
Yeah.
I just loved it because he just didn't care.
And going back like years later, knowing what you know about Hogan and how he was and the personality.
What do we know about Hogan?
He's just a bit of a knob. Just on many levels. But going back and going, okay, this was Shawn taking the piss.
Even sweeter.
Yeah.
Obviously, he had his controversial sort of, around when he was, at his sort of peak. But then when he came back after his redemption and stuff, for me was just phenomenal. He put on some of the best matches. His storytelling was incredible. One of my favourite rivalries is him against Chris Jericho.
Oh yeah.
And I just love the way that kind of just all came together. He's insane in the ring. And yeah, again, like his kind of larger than life sort of character arc, I just like to try and embody that as much as impossible. Obviously, with the Vice Wolfpack stuff, especially in Snakebite, like I try and think of myself as a hybrid of Shawn Michaels and Tyler Breeze in
Yeah.
a crazy way. Yeah, he just got me. He just got me so into it, and I just think as a wrestler as well, he's money. He can just tell a story.
Yeah.
I just love his work, really.
I do remember that Snake Bite gig where you were performing right next to a barbershop window, and I did have to worry about the other band members. It's just like
exactly.
Just looking around like no.
Just like. Number 2 is The Rock. Again, similar reasons to what you said, Smiz. He was just the most polarizing person. His promos were second to none. No one touched him when it came to that. And he was just so, again, charismatic. And I actually think he's really good in the ring. A lot of people don't really talk about his ring ability, but I just think he was amazing. And you can't also beat that people's elbow where he slid in his Gucci shoes and just slid across the ring and did it. That was just phenomenal.
I think one of the things about The Rock is he broke wrestling out to go back to the mainstream.
Yeah, definitely.
Because even people who aren't wrestling fans would be doing like the people's eyebrow and that sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
And the staying power of that is we still will quote stuff from him.
Yeah, exactly.
Just in sort of normal conversation.
And I think again, like it made, he's one of those people that made wrestling cool for like just anyone who like, there was always a bit of a stigma, like especially when we were growing up, like that, you know, watching wrestling was lame or whatever. It's like, oh, why are you watching that fake rubbish?
Yeah.
But like The Rock made it kind of cool. And I was like, yeah, I dig that. I just think he's phenomenal. Number 3 is Stone Cold, Steve Austin.
Yeah.
Again, like you talk about crowd reactions.
What?
Talk about crowd reactions, like him coming
Still
down in that massive. Do you remember that like, massive brawl? He just comes down with a steel chair and just like nails everybody.
Yeah,
it's phenomenal.
His
attitude, like who doesn't want to punch their boss? If my boss is watching, don't mean you. But like it's kind of that sort of like he's the anti-hero kind of guy. Doesn't care. Like you just love that attitude. You just know when he's coming down, he's just gonna smash a beer and just raise a bit of hell. Oh hell yeah! Oh hell yeah! Oh yeah! I just love him, and I think he's great. I think he's a really great storyteller in terms of in his wrestling stories that he put on. His comedic timing was phenomenal.
Yep.
He was able to not take himself so seriously. Yeah, Stone Cold is number 3.
One of my big regrets in wrestling is I got into it when I did, and I don't mean no one to get into it sooner, but by the time I got into it, I think he was injured.
Yeah.
So I never got to see that until he came back, and then I was like, well, who's this guy? Is he? I didn't know. But
he floated around as like commissioner for a while, didn't he?
Yeah. But it was that sort of like I never got to see him in his prime. And you can go back years later and go, oh, this is an excellent match. This is an excellent promo. He's clattering Vince whilst he's in the hospital.
With the bedpan.
Yeah. But it's hard to then have that go back with that almost like childlike sense of wow and leaving an impression, which is where like The Rock was there to fill up. And I think as a result of him being injured, like stars like The Rock and Triple H really stepped up their game.
Yeah,
now
100%.
Yeah,
Definitely. Yeah. So I'm going to give him an honourable mention because he was very close, but he's not going to be on there, unfortunately. Brock Lesnar is in my honourable mention. Just because I don't think I've ever seen an athlete that I would, like, obviously you look at them and oh my God, they would kill me. But like Brock Lesnar would legitimately kill you.
Yeah.
And I think his level of like intimidation, his prowess in the ring, his speed, his strength is just second to none. He's probably the best like athlete I've ever seen in terms of the sports, entertainment, wrestling kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I think his promos are a bit flaky, like, but again, like, he doesn't need to have a promo because he's just an absolute monster.
Yeah, he sells it, doesn't he? Like,
but he's
even
so
if he's not trying to.
Yeah.
Like, Suplex City, bitch.
Yeah, like he just did it on the women. It became so over. We watched that, didn't we? We watched that exact one, and he said it. We were just like in tears. It was
as soon as he said it, we were all just like,
yeah. I was like, oh my God, this is great.
Then when he's just like, what was it? Which one was it? Let's do this.
Yeah. Let's do this. Or he sounded like a question.
Yeah.
It's hilarious. Yeah.
like him and Undertaker in the ring where Taker sits up and they laugh at each other. It's just
he knows when to bring it. I think he's just again a different kind of intent. He's a different kind of wrestler than like
and he will help people out as well. Like,
definitely.
If he thinks you're good enough, he'll bend over backwards to make you look strong.
He did it with Finn Balor in their match, didn't he?
Like,
I think Drew McIntyre as well. Yeah.
I think he's a believable badass as well. Like you see him in the ring, like I can feasibly see this person winning. I think it was there was a interview with Paul Heyman like a few years back where they were talking about WrestleMania 30.
Yeah,
where he beat Taker and shocked the world.
I think I've seen that one as well.
And it is like, Heyman's like, I'm not going to tell you the truth. I'm not going to tell you a lie. I'm just going to plant this idea. What if he'd just gone into business himself? Could The Undertaker have actually stopped Brock Lesnar from going, I want to do this?
Yeah.
And it props to Heyman, I think, because he...
Yeah. Again, that goes for me, it also goes like to the believability, a factor like Lesnar could do it.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I mean, anyone could do
wanted
it.
to pin him for free, he would have and just be like, I did it.
Yeah.
Like, no one would have been like, no, you weren't supposed to do that.
Yeah.
You wouldn't want to be the person
no one's gonna stop him.
Because I remember we all watched that together, and I've never been so shocked like watching a wrestling thing in my life.
Yes.
And like we were all there, like that actually just really happened. Did the ref actually count to 3? Like, is this fake? Is this like are they going to restart the match? Like, surely not.
Is it going to be revealed the ref was corrupt or something happened or
no?
Are they going to restart? Like, no,
crazy. So Lesnar is an honourable mention, even though I kind of feel like I've convinced myself that he should be on it.
It depends who your 4th is going to be. If you
my 4th,
your 4th better be goddamn good.
It's true. It's damn true.
All right.
It's Kurt Angle.
It's good.
Now you've just hyped up Brock Lesnar for 5th place, so by saying he's the best athlete.
I know.
Kurt Angle is.
I know. But then you go to Kurt Angle. But yeah, Kurt Angle is he was someone who got me back into wrestling in the TNA era. And I've always loved all of his work. He's a guy who can take himself so seriously from being like the ultimate submission machine, and then who can also be wearing a cowboy hat, singing songs on a guitar. Like his comedic timing was phenomenal. He's one of the best like athletes to go into the business and adapt so quickly. I loved him as champion. His whole Team Angle run was phenomenal. His match against Lesnar is one of my favorites. Their Mania match. Yeah, Kurt Angle is just incredible. I think he just pips Lesnar because he's been in the business longer, and I think his drive was just a bit more. Medal. And he won a gold medal with a broken freaking neck. So
why not?
I think if Angle hadn't been there, I don't think Lesnar would have worked as well, because it's to show that you can have someone come from this amateur wrestling background, and be a massive star and still have that. I think I'm not going to say Lesnar wouldn't have happened because he's a massive jacked bloke who probably would have made it, but I think it made it easier to show actually this is possible.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Yeah, no.
I just, and Angle is, I think there was obviously a hint of nostalgia there with Angle in terms of his run, but his theme hits, I pop, like, he's just one of those guys for me. One of the best movesets, you know, his moonsaults were just like phenomenal. And I just loved his promo work. Again, he's someone who can bring the intensity so much, but then also have absolutely hilarious comedic timing. Yeah, I just found him so captivating.
Had a great little feud with Stone Cold.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, so that's my 4. So now we move over to Azrael.
We get to the centre of the shrubbery maze. So.
Here we go.
Well, okay, like mine actually aren't that bad. My first one is obviously The Rock.
Yep.
I'm not going to waste my time talking about why The Rock's amazing and how he's the best person in the whole world. So we're just going to move straight.
We should have said Mount Rushmore excluding The Rock.
Yeah, right, yeah. He's the foundation, isn't he?
Oh, yeah! Oh! You either planned that or it was unintentional. And
someone's been playing Fortnite.
You are medal.
My second is going to be Sting.
Oh,
okay.
That's not Sting, that's a picture of Sting!
This is why. You can't Sting. He was like one of the first guys I knew. My mum absolutely loves Sting more than anyone in the world. Probably more than me. I'm joking, not that far. No one loves me more than anyone. But anyway, and just as WCW, he was incredible. You know, he was just amazing. TNT? TNT?
That's dynamite.
When he was delivering parcels, he was brilliant.
Impact, he was brilliant. And when he eventually went into WWE, he was still great. Like, he was just, let's be real, he was screwed over in WWE. To be brutally honest with you, like, he's just been a champion.
But even in his work in AEW, you've seen any of the stuff he's been doing with Darby Allin.
He's still doing it in AEW now.
And he's insane.
He's
65 and he's like nailing it?
He's the same age as The Undertaker.
He's
just got back from potentially having a broken neck.
Yeah. Told he would never be able to wrestle again.
Then went into AEW and is doing some of the matches he's doing. It's ridiculous. And it's just...
I think it's a great show.
It's interesting and testament to how good a character he is. That
Yeah.
whatever company he goes to after WCW, it's a big deal that he's there.
Yeah.
Like,
Him going to WWE, that was honestly the best news I've ever heard in my life. It was just ridiculous. It was just mental. Like, did they finally manage to get him after what, like, 20 years at least?
It's a wasted opportunity what they did with him.
Oh yeah,
but,
don't even get me started.
Yeah.
And like, this is not a match about WCW v WWE, but we're gonna bring out the NWO and the New Age Outlaws, and we're gonna beat you. Like, okay.
Sledgehammer versus Bat.
Yeah, it was like, so
bad.
it's not about that, is it? That's interesting.
I think they could have done that match idea different, and
I don't know why Sting went there and said.
Sting was always a loner, so like Sting fought like the NWO for years. Like, obviously he joined the Wolfpack, but that was different. But like, why would they come down to help him? It just doesn't make any sense.
It was pure WCW, and it was just like this.
Vince had his mitty paws all over it.
Sting deserved more than that.
Yeah,
he deserved a win at least in one match.
We should have got Sting versus Taker.
Sting versus Taker would have been
beautiful. I don't think
if it was a cinematic match, I think that would have been incredible.
Yeah.
You can hide their things and stuff.
I mean, WCW was huge. He was so huge, and he probably was one of the reasons why they stayed around for as long as they did in the Monday Night War.
His feud against the NWO was keeping them alive.
Yeah, and even when he went to Impact again, he's top of the table again.
Here's a question though: did you like his Joker gimmick?
I didn't mind it.
Yeah, see, I didn't mind it.
I didn't mind it.
I thought it
was Sting, so you do it. You know he's going to do it right.
It's a subtle change on what he was already doing. Face paint and
then to come into WWE, it was just... It was mental.
That's a great pick.
It's good.
That's a really good pick. So number 3 then.
Number 3, it's going to be another good one. I've only got one, which is going to have a
You peer pressured me to take my one out.
Number 3 is Undertaker.
Okay, yeah.
Because you can't not put Undertaker in.
I quite easily did.
Well, yeah, but
he wasn't even.
I love Taker, so I understand that.
Yeah. Through years, like how can you, watching the Undertaker go from the Dead Man to the American Badass, back to the Dead Man, and just stay undefeated for so long was ridiculous.
Because I think he should have stopped there and kept the bike.
Just right in that moment.
He brought the bike back.
Yeah, I should have kept it.
I loved, because a lot of people don't like American Badass Taker.
Oh, I loved
I loved it. Again, he was around that period. Yeah, he was around that period, wasn't he? That sort of like 03, 04 era, wasn't he?
Yeah, it was a perfect time where you had Biker Taker, Kane, The Rock, Stone Cold, Kurt Angle, Chris Jericho, Lesnar. Yeah. You had them all there, and
the other Chris.
The time where they the time that they all ran to the ring, finisher after finisher after finisher after finisher after finisher.
So great.
It was just ridiculous. Like you will never have that kind of star power in a show.
There won't be another
show
Undertaker.
That much. There was 10. You could say 10 legitimate number 1 contenders for the world title at least.
Well, they're all stars, isn't it? I think that's the issue with the modern.
It's
the issue with the modern business, isn't it? Is that there's only one guy,
and they didn't have to work for it. They all worked for it themselves. They made themselves for stars.
Totally. Yeah,
and that's how it happened. So I just don't think you can't have the Undertaker, not have the Undertaker.
Yeah.
And now my 4th.
Oh, here we go.
Okay,
here we go.
This is going to be either.
And this is going to have a few question marks to it, but I don't care. The Miz.
Okay.
I'm going to tell you why, guys.
We didn't ask, but all right.
I'm going to tell you why anyway.
We know. We've heard it for years.
The Miz is one of my favourite heels ever. Ever. Because he knows everyone hates him. Does he give a shit? No, he doesn't care. He will play up to it the entire time. You don't like his wife? He'll play up to that. You don't like the way he wrestles? He'll do that more often. He doesn't care. Yeah. If he wants to, like, the feud between him and John Cena when he was the WWE champion was brilliant because everybody loves John Cena and he's just there like, don't care. This is my belt. And he just owned it and rode, and it gave like other people as well the chance to do so. You had John Morrison versus The Miz for WWE champion. Like, you wouldn't have had that if it was John Cena. It'd be over in a minute.
It also helped like Alex Riley come up as well.
Yeah, he was with Alex Riley. It was a
R-Truth.
weird time, but there were so many new people who could jump up and see different matches. And he's won, he's a Grand Slam champion as well.
Yeah.
He's won everything.
One of the longest reigning. Is he one of the longest reigning IC champions, or is he like one of the most wins?
He's won it
in
quite a lot,
IC?
yeah.
I think he's got combined quite a lot of days.
Yeah.
He's just when he was Money in the Bank champion, it was brilliant. It was just the way he would cash in as well. Every match he'd be down there, just like, "Hi guys, yeah, just."
Oh, he cashed on Randy
cash
Orton
in.
was phenomenal, wasn't it?
Yeah,
It was so
and
good.
it's just everybody hated him, and that's I think why I liked him so much because everybody wanted him to lose. I'm just there like, I want him to win. Go Miz! It was just brilliant. Like it's just, I think it just works. The time where he did that on Talking Smack.
the
my
Daniel
point.
Bryan promo. Yeah.
Well, everybody just went to me and said, "This is actually all right, isn't it?"
Yeah.
I was like, "Yeah, shut up." Like it was that Talking Smack interview where he was against Daniel Bryan, and he was just telling everyone like, I'm safe. I don't injure people. I haven't been injured for years. I've always been here. I've always done it, and I will put my ass off and do it all the time.
There's a reason why I'm still wrestling on the show, Daniel, and you're retired.
Exactly.
Like that sort of.
If you hate it so much, why don't you go back to the bingo hall?
Incredible.
Great line.
And
Yeah.
it's just like,
he did, yeah.
and it's just like, how can you say that he's not? He doesn't deserve it. He's a future Hall of Famer. He's still going now.
Yeah.
Maybe not as much as he would probably want to, but he's moved into movies. Can't name any good ones, but he's moved into movies.
I mean, he obviously recently,
he's
like,
the
what was it,
A-lister,
last
isn't
year,
he?
you won the W Championship, didn't you?
Yeah.
I
I mean, they might have needed him to do something with it, but he came in, did it, was champion. For
I think that's the thing as well. Like, he gets a lot of slack, but he does his job. Like, he's a really great company person, isn't he? Like, he's always doing the press stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a really great, I don't know if it's a 24/7 thing that was on the WWE Network with the Miz on, and it was so interesting to watch like his backstage life and everything that he does, and how much hate he got as well. Like,
he's actually a nice person as well. Like,
yeah,
he will help anyone.
and he really wants it. I think that's
funny.
the thing, isn't he?
He's come from Tough Enough. He's jumped. He's been right at the bottom of this company.
Yeah.
And people have just said you're never going to make it. And he's like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
He's just kept.
So
I'm
he's
pretty
kept
like,
going,
yeah.
kept going, and
Here I
kept
go.
going. I think he's like, he should be everyone's like who wants to get into wrestling should look at his career path and just go, why not? Like,
Because
why
he
can't I?
did the reality stuff to try and break into the business through that way. Didn't
Yeah.
he?
sort of
That
get
was-
a personality out there first, and
Yeah.
then
Yeah,
And then
and
he
he stuck
went
with
Tough
it because
Enough
he
and
could
he's
have,
done it.
he could have easily just been like, oh no, like I'll stop or whatever, or give it up, but he didn't. He persevered for everything. He wasn't allowed in the locker
there's
room.
rumours of everyone in that locker room just picking on him, making fun of him, not thinking he deserves to be there. And now he's a future Hall of Famer, Grand Slam champion. There's no doubt he hasn't won, except the women's, but there's still time.
Maybe one day.
Still time.
Maybe.
So yeah, that's my Mount Rushmore.
I mean, I knew he was going to be on it.
Yeah.
He was always going to be.
Yeah. I've never denied your points. I just argued against him to annoy you over the years. I think that's why we all did it.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's like one of those things, isn't it? When you make like something, you rip on it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's funny.
It's always going to be those.
Yeah. Well, no, that was really good. Thank you for your Mount Rushmores. We're going to wrap this first episode up. This is going to be a lovely little two-parter, as we're running quite a long time, as we just noticed. But guys, thank you so much for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Please make sure that you subscribe to the podcast, whether you do that on Spotify or on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Give us a little review because that really helps us out on the algorithms. Share it with your best buds and with your mums and dads. We really do appreciate it. So stay tuned for episode 2, which will be coming out, part 2, which will be coming out very, very soon, shortly after this one. I have been one of your co-hosts, Vice Wolfpack. You can follow me on twitch.tv/Vice_Wolfpack.
I've been Azrael. You can follow me on twitch.tv/ I can't even think.
Yeah, //
/Azrael_AAW.
And I've been Smiz, Agent Smiz. I don't have a Twitch. You can follow me on Twitter if you like pointless opinions about stuff.
Where's that on Twitter?
At Agent Smiz.
At Agent Smiz.
If you want thoughts on how the Book of Boba Fett is going, just
Let's load that up now.
Yeah, load that up right now. But guys, thank you very, very much for listening or watching this podcast. We really do appreciate you. This has been the As Vice podcast, part 1 of our wrestling episodes. Tune in for the next one very soon. But have a great rest of your day, whatever you're doing.
Good evening.
Good evening or good night, or good morning.
It's always going to end with that.
It is.
Regardless.
But yeah, thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Cheers.